I also submitted,
Testimony?
yeah, and I also submitted the two that are in writing. That's not for me, the gal who wrote the cosmetology, it's the textbook that we all use in the cosmetology schools. So I submitted, she's an author, she submitted that, and also the American Association for Cosmetologies, but that's separate from me. So my name's Mindy Mosca. I've been licensed since 1989, worked in salons, been in the beauty school industry for the last 12 years. So my thing is, I feel like we just keep calling this braiding and braiding and braiding. And the trend in our country right now, it's not to consider it just braiding. It's actually called natural hairstyling. It's called natural hairstyling because it's everything to do with doing hair besides chemicals. So if you read how the bill is presented, do I think to braid you need to go to school for 1,200 hours? Absolutely not. Do I think we need to rethink this? Absolutely. Do I feel that I could go, I used to do weaves. I never could do the braids good enough, so I worked with a gal, we worked together. She would do the cornrows and I would sew in the hair. This was years ago. I haven't done it in probably maybe 17 years. That was maybe 17, 18 years ago is when I did weaves. That said, I do feel like it's natural hairstyling is what we're talking about. We're not talking about braiding. So I understand it's becoming like a cultural thing, but for me, take the cultural out of it and you're talking about diffusing the cosmetology license. So that would mean for myself, if I wasn't licensed, I could take this bill and not braid, but I can then just go open a shop and I could do washes and blow dry. So we can have dry bars and then we can do all of that. And then I can have another business and I can go do just updos. And then I can have another business and I can go, so you're taking this license that I take great pride in, that my mom had, that I have, and that I am proud to share with so many, and just diffusing it. So that in itself, I feel like we keep calling it braiding, and I feel like that simplifies it. And it's not braiding, it's braiding, it's weaving, it's adding hair, it's adding synthetic hair, it's really hairdressing hair. So, do I think you need to go to 1,200 hours? No. Do I think there has to be something in place, like a certification? Absolutely, like a massage therapist, or a nail tech, or a pedicure person, or anyone that does anything that touches a human being, that has human being contact. There has to be some sort of certification, some sort of education. If you're a CNA and you go make beds and you clean people, you need a certification. So I feel that there is something that needs to be looked at, not just like, oh yeah, you don't need to do, no, you don't need to do 1,200 hours. Let's get to the drawing board. I love the questions, like how many hours do you spend on that? So let's see how many hours we're required to. Let's talk about the disease portion of things. Let's combine it. How many hours does that come to? 1,200? No. But there are hours involved in trying to make sure that people aren't going to share communicable diseases. Yeah, is it possible? Yeah, that's what we do with our cosmetologists. It is possible. I did share some pictures where it does happen. Did I see it myself when I did weaves? Yes, I took out weaves, and when you take the weaves out, you do use a sharp instrument. It's a curled needle, and when you sew the weave in, the hair, you're using a sharp to the scalp, so there is precaution that needs to be taken. I did have to be trained on that. It wasn't something I could just go, I could just do this. I did have to be trained on it. And then removing it takes shears. So there is all that involved. So I do feel like when we say it's a braiding bill, it's a braiding bill. It's not a braiding bill. It's not like just doing a braid or just doing a cornrow because that's what you do it. Because I will say this, I keep saying this. I'm born and raised from a hairdresser. My playpen was in a salon. My mom showed me what I had to do. My mom showed me how to do roller sets, how to do wash, how to do blow dries, how to do roller sets, how to do all those things. My mom also showed me to go better myself, to go to school to get licensed to do this for a living. So I didn't get to just do it because it was something my mom gave me. I had to do it because there are some precautions that need to be taken. So that's all I want to share with all of you, that I do feel like, and I speak as a school person, do I feel like it's going to take away from our school business? Absolutely not. I really don't think it's going to take away from the school business. but I do think it needs to, and I know regulation is a very sticky word. I do think it needs to be a certification. I do think you do need to have some knowledge. You can't just say, because trust me, I see a lot of great kids come to our school that watch YouTube and can do unbelievable updos, but do they have a clue on what could possibly happen if they double dip into a product? Do they have a clue of what could possibly happen if they puncture just somebody just in the side of their eye? If there's some sort of, I mean, stuff happens. I see it every day. So I just feel like it has to have some precaution, some certification. I don't like how it's read. I just think it as it is not good.
Any questions from the committee? Senator Orr.
So I'm just trying to formulate this question based on your testimony. It sounds like you want there to be regulation, and yet at the same time there's concern about it. You sounded like you're willing to kind of separate it from the cosmetology school and training program in some sense, yet there still needs to be some licensure. So I guess I'm just confused as to, because part of my follow-up question is this curriculum. I mean, there's a lot of language in the regulations. I went through reading a lot of this. I'm also an attorney, and reading and trying to understand the regulations, and there's a lot in there about being an approved school, needing to be approved through the Department of Health, which, by the way, the Department of Health also submitted a letter in support of this legislation.
May I speak on that?
Yeah, please.
So I feel this way, there's one poor girl, her name's Stacy. There's thousands and thousands of salons. I literally drive 3 miles to work and I pass like 25 salons. You're gonna give this girl a whole nother thing to look at. The health department absolutely cannot possibly do it. We have to be inspected once a year. I have to call, what month is this? We're in March, April. I gotta call in April to get my inspection because I know it's gonna be due by August. I gotta call her now to book her to hope to God she gets to me before August. I really believe them, and when you call the health department and you try to get help, they are so stressed out. When I first started years ago, there was a department of health. Now there's 2 girls. They are so stressed out, they just keep giving them more and more and more. So do I believe in my heart that they really think that there's no help? I can't believe it, but I can't speak for them.
Well, they submitted a letter in support.
I know.
Yeah.
Neil helps me with certain things. I saw that he was the one that did it. I understand that. I'm just sharing that they can't really do what they gotta do now. I can't see, whatever. That's just my only opinion.
Senator Orr, you have a follow-up question?
Yeah.
So how would
Yes.
how would you like to see, again, if we're gonna do state regulation of this process
Yes.
that you're saying the Department of Health can't even oversee?
Yep.
Then what would be the way to amend this bill?
Great question. So I think it would be fantastic if we made sure that people were prepared so that the fact that the health department doesn't come, that at least we know that they know sanitation, that they know the proper way to use the implements, that they know how to sanitize, because trust me, I personally have worn a weave, and I went a week ago for a pedicure, never mind hair extensions, because I do hair extensions, because it won't just be an ethnic thing. I can go and get my extensions from an unlicensed person now, because I'll be able to. But I went to go get a pedicure, I went, oh, it was disgusting, and I said, I pretended, and I said, oh, thank you anyway, I'm all set, and I walked out. I chose not to. So that was my personal opinion, but I do feel if we can just give, so you're saying I'm talking regulations and not regulations. What I'm saying is this has brought light to me, right? So I thought everybody should just get licensed. But now I read this and I say, okay, I keep hearing like, does it make sense to make them to go to school for 1,200 hours? Maybe not, but it would make sense to take the techniques that we speak of, weaves, extensions, all the different things, as well as blunt cutting, because blunt cutting, all the various things that are described in this bill, I feel can be trained. There can be a training on it. There can be we have a whole natural hair, I don't know it because I don't teach, so let me not go into that. But we do natural hair training. So take that and take the sanitation portion, and there you have a certification. Just like you would have to be certified if you went and got eyelash extensions, if you had yourself microbladed, if you had your nails done, and if you had a pedicure. It's the same thing. I just don't understand why this is sort of segregated. Yeah.
Any other questions? Senator Morgan.
Are you an instructor now with one of these
No.
companies, these
No,
schools?
I am licensed to be an instructor, I just don't instruct.
Follow up?
Follow-up
I mean,
question?
I had to search, I had 2 African-American foster kids, and I had to search everywhere. They had their hair braided. I had to search everywhere. I mean, I spent weeks trying to find a hair braider. I mean, I don't
know how. I have some of the most amazing, talented friends that you would ever see, and you're like, go on Instagram. You can find them. They promote themselves. They're in salons. They do just the most amazing job. So they are there. I mean, is it like everywhere? No, because it's a specialty unit. So you wouldn't just go to one salon and get your hair colored at a hair color salon. You wouldn't go to one salon and just get your nails done. There are some, but not often. So
but that's all they're looking to do is that specialty.
which is
braiding.
awesome. And there can be just hair color salons, and they can just be hair cutting salons, and they can just be braiding salons. That doesn't take away from the fact that there needs to be some sort of knowledge prior to doing it. That's all. I mean, they're there though. There's salons, and there's professionals, and they're licensed, and they, you know, they've been trained with sanitation and the how-tos.
Further questions? Senator Lombardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for your testimony. Explain to me what minor trimming is, because this would exempt minor trimming. They would be able to do minor trimming with braiding.
Correct.
I guess maybe when I get minor trimming, because I don't have much hair. So would I be able to?
So what I believe to this bill, as I didn't have my input in it, but what I believe from my professional opinion is when you do weave hair in, okay, it comes in these bags of hair, it's synthetic hair, or I used to work with natural hair. And when you put it in, the hair, and as you sew it in, so you would start sewing in here, and as you work the hair around, some of the ends of the synthetic hair or the natural hair are all sort of jaggedy and not quite right. So in order to make it look nice, you'd have to blend and cut the bottom of that hair.
So there would be no trimming of their natural hair?
Not of the natural hair, no, it would be of the extension and of the woven in hair, yes. So that's why I feel like it is more of a natural hair styling versus like just braiding, because it's not just braiding, because it is like a blunt cut of the extensions that's being put in. And if you really read the bill, it's pretty much everything but the chemicals of a cosmetologist.
Follow-up questions? One more question? Senator Lombardo.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Do you need a license to be a wig maker, make wigs? Because that's exempt also.
I don't believe so, I don't know.
So
I used to sell wigs.
I don't know why it's in the
I used
bill
to
then.
sell wigs, but I don't know. But it is a talent and a skill. It's a pretty amazing thing to see.
Further questions?
There are 22 items.
We do that in school as well, though. We do a wig making chapter.
Thank you.
All set?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.